Well, I think it's time for something a little bit different on my channel. I cover a lot of metal, I cover a lot of progressive rock and progressive metal, and this technically falls into the progressive metal side of things. You know, it's definitely progressing the music forward, and it's in a vein of metal. So that is enough for me to cover it. Also, I've been enjoying the heck out of this. So a shout out to Spectrum Pulse for introducing this to me. Please go and support their channel. Mark is almost at 50K, I think. Yeah, go show him some love and tell him that Note sent you along. But yeah, let's dive into this album because, man, is it tasty. Dance You Monsters to My Soft Song by Victory Over the Sun. So, Victory Over the Sun is a one-woman show doing all the instruments. That amazing mastermind is Vivian Tylinska, I think is how you pronounce it. Tylinska? Yeah, I think I got it. She does all the guitars, all the drums, all the vocals, synthesizers, accordion, everything. The only thing that she doesn't do, a few small things every once in a while, mainly on track 3, which I'll be getting into. We have Enki McConnell, I believe is how you pronounce it, on violins and additional guitars. Cole Rollins on trumpets, and Oscar Abbey on tenor sax. And then on track 5, we have Shoshana Rosenberg on bass clarinet. So, yeah, it's kind of giving you the flavors. It's kind of giving you the flavors of what to expect on here. My overall impression of this record is... if you're looking for that extreme, really aggressive, really challenging black metal, aggressive tech metal, you're going to find something here. You know, you're going to find something here. What really brought me into this album was I've been digesting and loving the newest Liturgy album, and I've been craving something more, craving something similar. And the opening track on here, Thorn Woos the Wound, being 16 minutes and 37 seconds, I'm like, done. Right from that beginning riff that reminds me of the Porcupine Tree incident, of that like dun 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 dun, with that like really deep and guttural and just infectious. It's like a fishing hook grabbing my cheek and pulling me in. I'm like, all right, you caught me, Skippy. Hook, line, and sinker. Let's go. Over the course of this 16-minute opening track, it leads you through so many different nooks and crannies, so many different aesthetics and feels, while still kind of presenting you this very dark, very drudge, very droney style of this tech death metal. The screams, the growls, the aggressive vocals that Vivian is putting down on here, it emulates a lot of, you know, very poignant and very human experiences. And that's one thing that I really gravitate to. You know, you could put down and scream your balls off as much as you want, but you got to have that substance. You got to have that conveyor behind it. And a lot of the kind of human conditions that are being played through on this, and that aggressive styles, is so very poignant and so very good. The thing that I love about this style of music is that because it's so aggressive and so in your face, and you know, at moments there's the wall of sound with the blast beats and the aggressive guitars and the chugging guitars, you know, it feels as though they're scooping out your brain, they're putting it into a blender and just putting it back, and it's not 100% that aggressive from start to finish. And I mean, it would be a really intense song for 16 minutes to go on for that long without having those peaks and valleys. So, you know, once you get into about the 5-6 minute mark, the song begins to evolve, it begins to shift, it begins to change, and we are now presented into this more heavenly aspect of music. You know, it's kind of reminding me of like the smooth jazz bar that we would get from like the 1930s, 40s. You know, I can see it, like velvet draped tables with like the small candle in the center, lots of smoke rising up from the tables, and it just adds this very like mood to it that's instantly like nostalgic while still being very novel and new. And so it provides this very nostalgic aspect and this very haunting aspect as well, because it is nostalgic. It is something that you recognize and that you can feel. It's like, I feel as though I've been here before, with this very pervasive deja vu, but it's like there's still something that's not quite right. There's something that's still pervading in the winds. It's almost as though you're in a haunted house, you know, something very similar to like The Shining or whatnot. And so when we get back into that aggressiveness, now it's like that much more intense. It's that much more abrasive. And man, like it's got this like really aggressive insanity that's then again reevaluated and realized at the end with this almost like post-rock aspect of it within the end of the guitars. You know, I'm feeling very similar to like a Deaf Heaven kind of a track where they will again scream their balls off right until the moment where it's like this breath of fresh air. We get above the storm clouds and now we're into this very beautiful tableau. And then we close off the first half of the album with Wheel, and oh man, this is an intense track. Like this, the overlay of distortion on the guitars and the vocal works, it's grating, it's menacing, it's like trying to walk through sludge. And I'm loving every moment of it, you know? Like, this is that, like, really deep and guttural and intense, like, it's gnarly. The different textures on it, even though you're walking through this black sludge, the different textures that are put on there, it's like this oil slick, you know? You've got this kaleidoscopic array of colors that are kind of buried within the mix that you have to kind of, like, really dig through in order to get to. The second half of the album opens up with The Gold of Having Nothing, and this is probably the most accessible track off the album, which is, you know, it's really saying something. And it's kind of like the crowning jewel because it almost starts off with this, I don't know, it's very accessible, it's very, like, immediate. And it keeps going on for quite a while, and it's reminding me of something from like Black Country New Road or the Black Midi in like this more like avant-garde style of rock music. And it feels a little bit out of place until like you start to listen to it on a little bit of a repeated listens. And behind the wings of a lot of this, there's always this like sinister shadow that's kind of permeating a lot of this. There's this always kind of like this negative like you know, minor toning of a lot of things, and it really paints for a very interesting track. And then we come to the final two tracks, Madeline Becoming Judy and Black Heralds, both just under about 11 minutes worth of music. And oh man, what I love, again, it's providing that bright light within such a dark place, you know, like the first 3 minutes of Madeline Becoming Judy is just that intense, that really aggressive aspect of it. But when it gets into this synth work, this bright thing, it's almost as if you're on this pool of sludge. You have this little fairy just dancing on top of it to provide just a really interesting soundscape. And the music's a lot more bumping. It's got almost like this dance beat to it that's very interesting and infectious. And once we come out of that part, again, it's that aggressive, very tonal, very like, But then when we come into the closing moments of this track, we once again have that airy aspect of it. Again, I'm feeling that fairy is coming back and like saying like, yeah, you went through hell, but you survived. And so now let's celebrate your survival and let's keep going, kind of that aspect. And I love the jovial ending part of this track. Like, it's so satisfying and it's just so rewarding when we get to the final string of it. And man, that last track, Black Heralds, man, they went out with a gut punch. It's so visceral. It's so like, that final scream that's on this track, like that final screaming out into the void just gets me every single time. This album definitely does not necessarily end on a happy note, but it definitely ends on one that, you know, I see myself in, and I'm just like, yep, that's how it goes. Like, if we take the ideas that I got from Madeline Becoming Judy, where it's like, yeah, this fairy has like, okay, let's celebrate where you come, let's celebrate your survival, and now let's continue on. And you look through, and all it is more of the same. That's kind of the final track. So, man, this album really is a treat. This album is one that I've been coming back to. It's kind of in that same vein as Liturgy, so if you're in that kind of, you know, you've been enjoying that and you want more, this is definitely the next step. I've been enjoying this one. I'm loving the ebbs and flows. I'm loving the progression that's found on here within the music itself. It's, even though it does, you know, kind of lean on its influences, like I can see the Liturgy comparisons there, it is its own thing, and it's doing a lot of stuff that I feel like a lot of other bands are trying to play with, but haven't quite figured out how to. I feel like these guys are definitely... I'm definitely feeling as though Vivian is really like crystal clear getting that vision in there. I've been having a great time. If you're a fan of this style of music, I think you're really going to love it. If you're not, this is one with a proceed with caution. You know, this is one that's only for those that want to be challenged. You know, you want to have that aggression. You want that bombastic. You don't want that accessible. You want that. This one's for you. And I loved it. I will say, Dance You Monsters to My Suave Song by Victory Over the Sun is one I absolutely love with my whole heart. For me, this is a run, don't walk. For me, this is one that I would absolutely check out. But again, I got to put that little disclaimer on here. This is one for those that love that really aggressive, very bombastic, very challenging black tech death metal. And if you're not into that kind of stuff, you're probably going to enter this album and think, like, why are people enjoying the sounds of nails on a chalkboard? You know? But for me, I love it. I absolutely loved it. So, yeah, take that as you will. And that's what I've got for you guys today. That's what I've got for Victory Over the Sun. What did you guys think about this album and this band? Yeah, if you loved it, if you hated it, let me know by commenting down below. And, yeah, that's all I've got for you guys today. So, thank you all so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.